So,
All right.
hey everybody, and welcome to the live thing. And again, we're trying to transition a little bit into making these live, like all these videos, just in case you want to come in and ask questions. Oh, and by the way, in case you want to do like a super chat and donate to the cause, you can do that too. I figured out how to do that finally. And we're also going to probably do a little bit better with scheduling about letting you guys know when we go live or when we're planning on going live. Listen, if you subscribe to the channel, you will get notified obviously when we go live, but if we schedule it, you'll know when we're going to go live. That's like a long way of saying something really easy. And sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And yesterday, for those of you that were there, we did this. We had Sowers doing the live before lock with us, and that was definitely a lot of fun. It's always fun getting getting guys on that know what they're doing DFS wise, even if they're not like completely active now. Just to kind of sometimes as a as a listener, as a subscriber, like you just hear our voices, and sometimes it's good to hear like another voice. So we wanted to do that. I'm also trying my best to make the NASCAR live thing work at 11 on Sunday. But I might have, my son's coming into town, so I might have to drive him to the airport. So I might make that a different time. We'll see how that goes. And aside from that, how'd you do last night in the?
Yeah, so it was nice. Like I finished 18th in the 1650, so I cashed deep in that one, which is always nice. Like we said before the show, pays for the slate, and then some. So that was nice. Did well in all of my secondary lineups on DraftKings, not well in my primary because I didn't have quite have the stones to play the Mitchell, the Mitchell and the Halliburton together, and that was the nuts. If you played those two guys together, you should have had an insane night. But overall, yeah, it was cool, man. It's like it was another good slate. I mean, mostly I feel like the NBA, I'm starting to get back on track here and been winning like great, like doing really well. My bets have been a little bit off lately, but on the year I've been on fire for the last 2 years actually. So I do want to encourage people to check out the Better Takes Discord. I'm going to post the link in the chat right now. It's awesome in terms of helping you become a better. It tells you all your strengths and weaknesses. We've done videos on it. I know some of you guys are familiar, so I won't go into it in a long way right now, but I do want to encourage people to check it out. And also we're running a weekly NBA contest. You pick 20 bets for the week, and whoever ends up on top. Right now it's just bragging rights, but it should be a lot of fun. It's under the True DFS circle in Better Takes, so make sure to get in there. And with that said, I'm ready to get into tonight's slate. You made a nice
run. What just happened? Hold on, something just happened with my screen. Hold on a minute. I forgot what I was going to say, but I had a good night in hockey as well. I got third in the lottery over there for like 3,000, which
beautiful.
Yeah, which is good. I don't know what happened to me over here. Okay. So let's get into today. You jokingly referred to this as a 1-game slate, and with the caution that things change and all this stuff happens, it certainly does seem that way. And not only that, but it's the 1-game late night hammer slate as well.
Exactly. So you can always shift off if you hear other news later too. So
I'm not going to get in. I don't want to talk about it too much, but let's just say that it kind of sucks for Memphis that Ja's kind of an idiot. You know what I mean? Like I don't know whether saying an idiot belittles it or what he's doing or whatever, but
well,
it's tough to listen. It's tough to see. You know what I mean? It's sad to see. That whole stuff.
I just really hope anybody reserves a little bit of judgment on the guy. He's a young guy. There's a lot of time left, and he hasn't been. We don't know all the details of all these stories, but it looks like it's a bad thing, and he's acknowledged it and said he needs to change his life, and that's all we can ask. That's all they can do for now. I'm not going to give up on liking Ja as a person just because he's acting like an idiot at 22, which I think I did too. So I don't think the same things, but Rich B, just real quick before we jump in, Rich B saying you had too many Pistons last night, and I'm looking at it. How could you possibly have too many Pistons last night? They all smashed.
Ivy was really, really good.
They had 6 guys who had like 6.5 plus X.
Yeah, Ivy was really good. Well, Burks they didn't close with, which was which was interesting.
Burks, people got very fortunate because he played only 23 minutes. So I wouldn't say that it was the strongest play. Corey Joseph had a good game. Even Livers played at 40 minutes.
He did.
Just the Wiseman, Diallo, and Bagley were just all average. So, but I don't
Bagley stunk.
Well, Bagley got in foul trouble right away, so that didn't help.
Diallo got hurt only at the very end, Nacho Man. He got
it was like a few minutes left to go.
Yeah.
He probably gets to around 30, possibly, if not. But yeah. But I think, still, it was one of those, we know with the Pistons what's going to happen. It's going to be messed around a little bit. But Bags didn't hurt too much because you said, because everybody played him. I didn't play him on FanDuel, which is partly why I did well. All right, let's talk about the first game. Milwaukee, Orlando. Giannis is playing against a bad defensive team. Cole Anthony has been hot lately. I think Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs' price is kind of appealing, but nothing I feel like I have to do. I did play Mo Wagner the other night, and I did well with him, but this is not the time where I'm going to go back to it with the other guys healthy. Probably off this game for the most part, with the exception of taking some shots on either Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs. What are your thoughts on this one?
So we didn't talk about Moritz Wagner. So that was either Friday or over the weekend at some point. It was a really weird thing because he showed up for me on the sheets as the number 2 overall points per dollar play all day, and I just figured he'd be 50% owned or something, just because that's the way it usuly works, and just nobody played him at the end of the day, and he kind of got unlucky. He could have gotten 10x in that game anyway. Cole Anthony rates for me is the best. Tied between him and one of the guys, the best point per dollar play not on Memphis. 4,400 seems really, really cheap. And the only thing he has going against it, it's an early game, but he certainly looks like a really, really strong play. And Jalen Suggs is just such a natural pivot. You know what I mean? Off of Cole Anthony. So I have Cole Anthony at 27% ownership right now. And I have Suggs at 7. So literally almost the exact same price. So I think that's very, very. If that's what everybody ends up doing is playing Cole Anthony.
Can I address something real quick? Because I think this brings up a really interesting point. You have basically the same type of situation. You have a reserve guard who both of them could close and could not. The minutes in general are always going to trend towards Suggs, and the usage is always going to trend towards Anthony. But when you end up having one of them be that much more on than the other, why wouldn't you play the safer guy for minutes? To me, seems like you said, a natural pivot. But even if he's a lower point producer per minute, I still think he's a really interesting I still think he makes a lot of sense because I feel like he's more secure or more likely to play 30 minutes than Cole Anthony is by a long shot. So I do like the Jalen Suggs pivot. And I think that I would say one of those two could easily be on the priority list because of the lack of early value. But I think, and a shame on DraftKings, we'll talk about it later, but they should have pumped up the prices on some of these Memphis guys a little bit more. I think that I haven't looked at all through FanDuel yet, but I'm pretty sure FanDuel did a pretty good job of it comparatively. So yeah, if you want to play Giannis and if you want to play one of those guards, I have no problem with it. I'm not especially interested in any other piece here. Middleton is getting up there a little bit more in minutes, and I think that pretty soon we'll start talking about maybe throwing him into some lineups, but not quite there yet. How about you?
I would add that Drew Holiday is listed as questionable. It says here he wants to probably test his neck pregame Tuesday. The good news is that it's 7:00, so we'll know. And if he is ruled out, then we'll look for starters. This could be one of those games where Jevin Carter gets the start and people have to decide whether to play him or not. You might get Grayson Allen, Connaughton. These guys will all get a bump if Drew Holiday's out, and Middleton, like you said. I wouldn't get to him if everybody was healthy, but look, his minutes are. They're.
If you get back to 28, I want to see 28 ones. He had 27 the last one that he played. I'd like to see him get to 28, and they also haven't played him in overtimes and stuff like that. So I don't feel quite good enough to do it yet, but I think we're getting close. And this is the kind of matchup he could smash in 28-ish.
And with respect to Giannis, yeah, I mean, I can't really argue with it except for the fact that, Embiid's on the slate, Luka's on the slate, a cheaper Anthony Davis with good run backs is on the slate. You know what I mean? There's certainly nothing wrong with Giannis in general. Like you said, I mean, call it what it is. He's a great basketball player against a team that's not the greatest defensively. But it's an early game too. Like all of it seems like something I don't want to do. But it's hard to say that Giannis is a bad play, especially at sub 10% ownership ever. So just keep them on the list. But for me, again, for this game, it's probably going to end up being either Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs, or if Milwaukee's, if they lose Drew Holiday, maybe something from the guards.
All right, let's move on to the next one. What do you got? Which one do you have next? Why don't you start off with the Washington Detroit, because I think you got some possible value at guard here.
Yeah, so I watched it at Detroit, and I'm seeing Q tags at least here on a couple of guys, on Kuzma and Stewart. Diallo is not. There's no way Diallo plays. I shouldn't say that. I mean, they carried him off the court like he wasn't going to play ever.
Right.
So on a back-to-back, even if I don't know if I was going to play him anyway, but just that's something to keep in mind. I don't really have much in this game based on who I have in, I guess. The top guy I have is Demi Avdija from Washington as kind of like I want to say secondary value play. He's always really solid. You know what I mean? Like he plays when he plays his minutes. He's a good player, and I have him as kind of a last man in my dummy lineup right now. So there's that. I'm not getting to any of the spend ups there, like Beal 8,200, Porzingis 9K. They're kind of secondary plays for me. So I'm probably for the most part off of that side. And Detroit, like everything else, I mean, you got to just kind of see who's playing. I mean, if you get a similar situation like last night where you get Bagley starting and all these other guys out, I think you probably should go ahead and play him again. But we'll see if Killian Hayes is back, and it's just good thing is, again, it's a 7:00 game and we should have the info.
Yep. Yeah. I am curious what happens with the rest of these guys from Washington. If everybody plays, I think DeLon Wright is totally fine. And hang
on. I gotta. Well, you can.
I'll keep going. Yeah. So I think Jordan Goodwin is a reach for sure if all these guys play. But he's looking like a good projection play right now. Corey Kispert is kind of
play back again,
but it's hard to do with it in the background. But mainly for me, it's going to be DeLon Wright in this game, and then I just want to see who's playing for Detroit. I don't know. I'm guessing that these guys are like some of them are going to play and some of them aren't. I just don't have a feel for which is which. And you have 4 guys for Detroit, so I'm just going to have to wait till 6 Eastern to really break down the Detroit side because I don't know what to do. As of right now, DeLon Wright, the one guy who's showing up as a reasonable play on Washington, but we'll see what happens as the day goes on. All right, next up you have New York, right? Yeah, like Charlotte at New York. I am having a little trouble figuring out what to do here. I feel like it's kind of strange that the projections are as bad as they are for these guys, considering. I know Oubre is looking like somewhat popular, and I think Rozier gets some love. I just think that the feeling is sort of like, will we get DSJ minutes off the bench enough to where he can get there? Because I think that's my favorite of all of these plays, to be honest with you, partly because of the price. But you have DSJ at 4,900, projecting at a number that he's surpassed his last 3 times out there. Obviously, there's still no LaMelo, but PJ Washington playing could cost him some minutes, I guess. But he's still going to play in the low to mid 20s at worst, and his upside for more. So I'm just kind of intrigued by the DSJ as a possibility. But I'd say one of DSJ, Rozier, and Oubre certainly wouldn't be a bad idea, even though this game is likely to blow out. And on the Knicks side, it's such a premium matchup. But for some reason, I'm not really that drawn to any individual, with the possible exception of Mitch Robinson. So those are pretty much my guys from this game are Mitch Rob, and then one of the three guard combination, Rozier, Oubre, and Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah, you look. Obviously, you have to see if Brunson's going to be back. I mean, he sat on Monday and over the weekend, and Quigley scored 70 fantasy points. At 50% ownership, that's what happens. The way it goes in the NBA, man, it's rough.
Yeah.
So obviously, watch for that. But I agree with the Mitch Rob play. I mentioned earlier that that I had Cole Anthony as like kind of tied for the best non-Memphis point per dollar play, and he was tied with Mitch Rob. So I definitely like that a lot. And I didn't. So funny, like on early projections, I'm not really seeing those Charlotte guys. 1 second. I'm not really seeing those Charlotte guys pop as much as they have been. Maybe because they're up in price a little bit. Maybe the Knicks matchup isn't as good as some of the others. So I'm not really getting to Charlotte as much as I thought I was going to. At least for now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, if Brunson doesn't play, we know what to do. With Brunson playing, it's just a little. I think I could totally argue for Brunson or Randall, maybe even Barrett at home. But I just think the main plays here, Mitch Rob and one of those wing players, one of the guards, one of the Rozier, Oubre, Dennis Smith guys, I think are all interesting. All right, let's see. What do we got next here, Sheets? I'm trying to look at my 7:30 ones. Oh, the Philly, Minnesota, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't you start this one off?
Yeah. So I gotta tell you, it's getting a little annoying to play Embiid if you want to know the truth. I mean, the team scored 100,000 points yesterday, and he was on his hands and knees to get there. It's not exactly, and he scored like 40 real life points. I mean, I don't know what.
No rebounds, 5 rebounds.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you who did really, really nicely was McDaniels.
Oh, McDaniels was great, yeah. But I mean, today we should have Tobias and PJ Tucker back, but I'm not 100% sure on either of those.
Yeah, McDaniels was amazing. It's so funny. Like I guess DraftKings is hoping that those guys are back. Otherwise, you have McDaniels dropping to 3,100.
Yeah.
Off of that performance, which you don't see all too often.
Yeah.
But listen, I guess Embiid remains in play. Harden remains in play as kind of a pivot. And I'm not seeing the projection on guys like Anthony Edwards and such to get me to them today. I will say this. I think that I like Minnesota against the spread in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly coming off of that freaking clown fiesta yesterday. I mean,
but it is, honestly, the spread makes me think Philadelphia is resting somebody. Probably Embiid, if anybody. But I don't know, though, because they're playing for they're still playing for the seed, at least in the East. They're only 1 game back. But for Minnesota to be favored by 2.5, even on a back-to-back against Philly, is not something that you would see. Philadelphia have been favored in this game every time. So I'm guessing somebody else sits, maybe Harden, maybe Embiid.
As a matter of fact, as Bobby was mentioning earlier, he was referring to Better Takes as like kind of our site that we're dealing with sports betting. So we actually have a Discord that for Better Takes, and if you have like a take on like a game or something like that, you should probably get in there.
Yep.
And post it just to generate some interest over there.
There you go. You got the Minnesota over Philly.
Yep. I remember. Okay, and if I'm really good, I'll enter it in the app, and then I'll put it up there too.
There you go. Yeah, that would be the dream.
Baby steps. All right. Baby steps. So I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't really have too much in this game.
Yeah, and if it doesn't seem like we're overly interested in the early games, you'll see why later on. However, not this next one, the one after this one. This one, you have a lot of middling value that I feel okay about all of it. I don't feel amazing about any of it. And I think DiVincenzo with Curry coming back is being a little bit over projected. I understand with, I don't know. I think he's fine, but overall for me in this game, I don't really have a ton of love for the Golden State side. And I feel like I wanted to do something on the other side, but not with Gideon Shea back. I guess I'm just probably staying away from a game with a crazy total like this, which feels tough.
The only guy I've had that's even showing up at all is the Jalen Williams, the center,
Mm-hmm.
At 3,600, and they're just better value than him. So I don't. Well, maybe not, but I'm not really getting too much from this game either. This Curry's return. You know what ends up. You know what happens. He plays however many minutes. He gets everybody involved.
Yeah.
If it were at home, maybe I don't know. Maybe he'd come out and do something.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up losing this as well. This is going to be one of those Shea 70-point jobs. You know what I mean? I'm just not getting to him projection wise, so I don't think I'm going to get there when the lineups get built.
Well, if it makes
excuse me, but I did have something for you. I don't know exactly what happened to the minutes in the last game or whatever, but Kuminga is worth a shot at 4,600. That was the thing I don't know why. I guess he was 2 for 10. Is that why he just didn't have that he was just terrible? Or all the guys back that were making him a play like the last couple of years? I'm not sure.
They're all back. Everybody back is.
Oh, okay.
He's in this is the worst. Like if you've played him, this would be the worst place to play. Worst time.
Okay.
In the game. Okay. He played 13 minutes in the last game.
And, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I just with Draymond back. Who I don't know who he's taking. He's not taking minutes from Steph Clay or Poole or even DiVincenzo. All right, moving on to Brooklyn and Houston. This is another game that I do think is pretty interesting. I think that Dorian Finney-Smith. I know we have to treat things a little bit different than the roles they've been given. Although unfortunately, Dorian Finney-Smith is just the kind of guy who's not very high usage, but he does have he's a good rebounder. He's playing a ton of minutes for them right now. And I think he's completely live at 4K. It's also a little bit later, so in case anything happens, you could switch. So I have Dorian Finney-Smith as a spend up. I like Dinwiddie a lot. I think Claxton is fine, but I haven't made my decision. Maybe I have to look a little more into that one. And then Cam Johnson, who's been really good. So all of those guys I have a little bit of interest in. The most interest I think I have is DFS and Dinwiddie. And on the Houston side, I just don't think I want to do it, but I may take a shot on Tari Eason, and that's pretty much it for the Houston side for me.
Yeah, I think this entire Brooklyn team is kind of like good secondary values. You know what I mean? Like I think they're all very, very playable. And if Memphis busts, you know what I mean? You need some other thing to do. And I definitely think the Brooklyn guys fit the bill. I mean, you mentioned Dorian Finney-Smith at 4K and Claxton. I just want to make sure. Cam Johnson I like. And what about an old faithful? We talked about him last night, but whatever it is Royce O'Neal is 2 cents. It's not like you need that much. I mean, he was going on a streak like a little earlier this season where he was actually producing at 5K, and he's 30. He's 2 cents right now. So I wouldn't dismiss him. And I like Dinwiddie as a spend up as well. And on the Houston side, I couldn't agree more. I mean, with all these, with what's his name back, Porter, I'm not as interested in playing Jalen Green and stuff like that. But Tari Eason once again is a last man in for me. And the way I'm building right now, I could use kind of a last minute around that price. So he's been doing great.
He's been on fire. He's been perfect for what you'd want. So I agree. I love Eason as a player. As chalk off the bench, I always get a little bit nervous, especially with KPJ supposed to be back tonight. He's been back and forth.
For me, I would rather play something like at 4,600, maybe even like Avdia or something like that.
Avdia, if somebody's out, I don't know where he's going to get the minutes if they all play.
I thought he was kind of safer for minutes.
He played 7 minutes the game before last.
Oh, did he?
I'm not really sure what happened there, but and then he played on the back-to-back when the other guys were sitting, right? Or somebody said, I thought.
All right, fair
But
enough.
you're right, though. Like, I actually think it's a fair.
So what about some other 4,700? So again, I'd love to be able to find 200 for Mitch Rob, obviously. That would be nice. Or there was always Cole Anthony. Let's look at these 4,800s. Tari Eason, the McDaniels from Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah. All right. We can move over to the next one, which is Golden State. I'm sorry, which is Utah and Dallas. Yeah, we can't talk about Kuzma's a game time decision. I'm not going to speculate on everybody who plays on the first games. There's just absolutely no point in doing it. It's a waste of time. So I'm going to hold off on that. Boy, Sheets, Utah's playing. I feel like every time Utah's played, we've been playing them as chalk for the last couple of weeks because of the situations they've been in. But I don't really feel like I need to play anybody here. And yeah, I mean, I'm just probably off the Utah side of this game. And even though it's a good matchup, I probably am off of the Dallas side of this game as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with Luka. I don't think there's anything wrong with Hardaway. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a low on Kyrie, but it's just nobody who's standing out for me.
Yeah, I like Luka as the best, slightly the best spend up. I mean, given that he's going to be, if you can get to him, if he's going to be half as owned as AD, for example, I don't know if that's even the case, but I'm just kind of speculating here. Mm-hmm. And I do like him here. Utah still generates a lot of pace, and I definitely like Luka here. I like Luka more than Giannis today. I wanted to mention, we talked about this with Sowers yesterday. We talk about this a lot about low usage chalk, and chalk where you're not going to have the ball in your hands a lot. So you didn't see this over the weekend, okay? In one of the slates, Josh Smith was like literally 70% owned. Josh Green, sorry. And he played 28 minutes and scored a crisp 3.75 fantasy points on 2 shots. Just be careful with guys like that.
But also let's be clear about it's not guys like that. He's playing with Luka and Kyrie when they were out.
I don't mean guys like that. I mean guys in these positions. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's all I meant. I mean,
No. I know. I'm just saying that, like, because I think when everybody was out, no one played Josh Green at first because there was this impression that he is that guy. But he's been that guy because he's playing with Luka and these guys.
Exactly. Well, that was my whole point. My point is like you get a guy like who do we?
Royce O'Neal's a great example, actually. That's why he was having a good year this year because they were using him in a totally different way in Brooklyn than he was used this whole time in Utah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much. I agree with that. I don't really get to any Utah at all.
Yeah. And okay, you got to say it first before we.
Yeah. So if you didn't like any of that, you get to sit back and you can root against everything the whole day, and then the problem is that if you do that, you're gonna have to get your lineup exactly perfect. Because everybody's going to be doing this. You have whatchamacallit. You have John Moran out for the foreseeable future, and you still have LeBron out on the Lakers side. So not to say you necessarily want to do this, okay? But like this build puts like 5 Memphis guys in, running back with Davis, and it's not exactly optimal to play this way. But, Tyus Jones, John Morant just eats up just so much, that when he's out, it's just going to be just a really, really good matchup for a really good situation for everybody. And like you said, DraftKings, I mean, you could argue that, okay, that what are you going to do with Desmond Bane? You can't make him 9K, can't make him 8,200. That's fair enough. But
Tyus Jones should be 7K.
Well, right? I'm going to get to that. Jaren Jackson Jr., I guess you could argue that, he's not exactly, he's not a guard, so maybe he shouldn't be that much higher than this. Dylan Brooks, first of all, Dylan Brooks should be over 5K in a situation like this. And Tyus Jones should be like 9K. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean 9K.
But you might be right about 9K, by the way. He put up 60 the last game.
But he always does. He always does. He puts up between 50. He puts up between 50 and 60 every single time he starts.
That's true.
So if they wanted to say, okay, we're not going to put him at 9K because then we'll forget, you know what I mean, and then we'll never move him back. but at least make him like 7,200. You know what I mean, or something. This just puts a plug and play into the slate, which
you have no choice but to play him. I really don't think you do. On FanDuel, you can talk about maybe fading in some of your lineups at 7,500. Right. That's how strongly I feel about that play. Yep. Yeah, this is the game. It will be very, very hard for me not to have, at least on DraftKings, at least probably 4 players in almost all my lineups. Anthony Davis is my favorite spend up tonight. The other ones, I'm totally open to D'Angelo Russell, which I haven't said in I don't even remember how long. But I think this is a totally fine spot to play him. I think that you're mixing that with Tyus, one of Bane or Jackson, Brooks, and then probably Tillman. And there's a 4-2 stack that already makes perfect sense to me. If you're going to get a little frisky with any of the Lakers, I think Austin Reeves is the most likely to sort of have the same minutes. And he's been really productive. I don't think people realize, and you could say, oh, but his shooting's so efficient. Yeah, that's true. He's shooting more efficiently and everything like that. But he's a good basketball player, and his assist numbers are great. The usage is pretty high. He's 4,100. He's put up 27 or more in 3 out of the last 4. Put up 34 and 35 in 2 of those. I know they haven't had everybody for all these games, but I do think that he's an interesting guy off the bench who I wouldn't mind getting a little bit of exposure to get different. And if I was going to pick one guy to get different out with off the bench for the Memphis side of things, I think Luke Kennard and Santi Aldama are both in play. Not overly excited about either of them, but it's just a way of trying to get different within a game that we like where everyone else is going to be owned, especially on the Memphis side. And the last guy I'm going to mention just really quick is Malik Beasley, just because the shooting ability, like the shooting upside is high for him, but not a guy you want to take. But maybe if you're playing 5 guys already from this game and you only have 1 Laker, maybe you could throw Malik Beasley in the mix.
Well, listen, I mean, what you can do, and this is the way you think about it, is first of all, if you want like a good solid lineup, right? You start with, like you say, well, you put these 5 Memphis guys in, right? Like the one I put in there. Yeah. And you put Anthony Davis, and then like you said, you want to pick your favorite Laker to go with Davis and replace one of the Memphis guys. I don't know exactly which ones. You know, I would not replace Tyus Jones, but right. Whatever Laker guy you like, then you know you have enough position eligibility from all these Memphis guys that you just replace that because you don't really want a 5-1 necessarily, and you want to take a shot with somebody else on the Laker, and then that's how you start your build. I mean, you're probably still not quite different enough. So like for example, if I did that, I don't even think I could play like Cole Anthony. You know what I mean? Like you have to at least.
Well, but you could though, because by the time, I mean, like this is my strategy, at least in the high buy-ins, like those guys may not end up in my lineup. It's going to completely be determined by how the rest of my lineup goes.
Right. That's true.
Like literally, that game will be well over by then. So you'll know how Cole Anthony did. And if he puts up 40, then you can play a little bit of chalkier stuff, even if it's mixing a lot of chalk together. And if he puts up 15, you can go get completely wild.
Yeah. So, but the Tyus Jones is not going to be faded by me. Well, we can talk a little bit like basketball wise. So you think that it's probably, I think it's a good idea to maybe pick one between Bane and Brooks, right? They're both going to be kind of competing for shots, don't you think?
Kind of. The teams play fast. I think you're fine playing them together. I think that like Brooks can always bust. Even
what about Tillman versus Jackson?
Well, I think they're fine too because they're going to start them both and they've been playing them together. But if you had to make things, if you were going to set yourself like for just 3, I would say Tyus with one of Bane or Brooks and one of Jackson or Tillman. That would be the natural way to do it.
What's the spread in this game? Like pick them?
It's 1. Yeah, the Lakers are favored by 1.
Yeah.
This is a tough one.
Brandon Clark out also. I mean,
which I actually think that Jaren Jackson is the biggest beneficiary. And even though Tillman's Tillman obviously is a huge beneficiary, but they have no problem playing Aldama minutes. They have no problem playing Concho minutes. You don't with Memphis. They're pretty deep and stuff. It's really the usage guys that I'm going to be most interested in, which are Tyus, Desmond Bane, to some extent Jaren Jackson Jr., and then Tillman, just because you think he'll be out there.
I'll tell you, this is a perfect slate for the Wednesday live sweat. This is like
the problem is you really don't. It might be that we had the one time though where I ended up winning a tournament I didn't even know because I kind of gave up on the games the last game, and then what's his name? LaMelo put up like 35 in the fourth quarter when they were down by 30.
Yeah.
Didn't see that one coming.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Listen, I'll tell you this. Like, if this is the way you analyze like your performances, if you get some stupid play to work, you know, like I don't know who you want to play, like Bonchero or something like, you know what I mean? Like just some like guys like that, they're gonna be like 0% owned, like a Kuzma from the Detroit game if he plays or something like that. If you get like a couple of big scores out of them, then you can sit there and like watch and root for all the chalk to come through in the Laker game.
Yeah.
Who else could be like? How about like guys like Anthony Edwards, who I mentioned, that like doesn't project anything, but maybe somebody like that. I'll tell you who it's going to be. It's going to be the aforementioned 70 burger out of the Shea. I think maybe that's possible.
That's possible. In terms of my ways to get different, I haven't figured all that out yet because I still want to try and build and then you know try to find my get weird plays. I don't have like the ones that I liked as much yesterday, like the Mitchell and the Halliburton. But I mean the priorities: Bane, Tyus Jones, Tillman, AD, Brooks, and then you mix in the triple J's, D'Angelo Russell, etc. Suggs or Anthony. DeLon Wright or Avdia, I have both those guys on sort of like the fringy playlist, but I think they're both interesting. One of DSJ, Oubre, or Rozier, I think all those guys are kind of interesting. DSJ should be low owned, by the way. I don't think Mitrov is going to get as much ownership as he should, but maybe he will by the time it comes around because everybody talks about how bigs always kill Charlotte. And then Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. None of those guys are particularly off the board, so I don't have like an off the board guy that's that crazy. What's weird is my off the board guy may end up being Giannis. And Giannis is not going to be played tonight. So it's just a potential opportunity to, like, if Drew Holiday's out, people will play Giannis. Otherwise, I'm showing him as the lowest owned of the spend ups by a significant amount. I have no problem with the idea of throwing Giannis or your guy Shea into a lineup. But I actually think the one that makes the most sense is Kyrie. That's.
I just came up with I'm sure people have come up with it before, but I just came up with a great idea to give to Evan. To give to Evan. Listen. This is the exact. See, normally I don't mind. I'm like the last one to say, well, I don't want to say in public because someone will steal it. I never really think that way. I always say, but this one I actually do want to tell you in private because
sounds good.
Literally don't want anybody to steal this one.
Okay. Well, good luck to everybody tonight. I'll see you live at 6 Eastern. Sheets won't be there tonight for live, but we'll fire it on in. I do want to remind everybody, and I appreciate those. If you're a member, jump in the premium NBA chat. We're posting a lot of our late stuff and our actual lineup swaps and stuff in there. And we're really trying to use it as a true premium channel. So if you're a site member, jump on in the premium chat. If you have any problems, hit me up in the general chat, and I'll make sure we get it fixed. We had a little bit of trouble getting it together yesterday, but then once we did, everybody was going in there, which is really nice.
And I'll tell you something else is that again, I know the way my brain works. If you guys know me by now, I'm starting to post like in the premium chat, the NBA thing, and once I start doing that, I will completely just stop posting the other one just because I'm not good enough to remember like where to post in which one. So I encourage everybody to get paid and get in there so that they can get all the premium stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Good luck to everybody, and I'll have my stuff posted early this afternoon. Reminder: I do it a little later this time of year for the NBA just because there's so much late information. So, all right, we'll see you guys. We'll have a golf show for you soon, and we'll see you guys hopefully at the top of the leaderboards tonight.